That is the sound of a sip of a freshly cracked open can of White Monster. If you're listening, crack open a caffeinated beverage and get ready for the first episode of the Hardcast. This is a rebirth of a podcast I did previously, which is called the Listen Hard Podcast, which was only available on the podcast apps, whether that be Spotify, the podcast app, but now the podcast is now available on YouTube because we now have a visual with two different cameras set up for two different angles of this podcast, as well as a completely new podcast setup opposed to the previous setup, which was honestly just like a shitty £60 Amazon mic that was so hard to get rid of the gain. It was so hard to actually get good audio from it. If there was any noise around the house, like my dog George barking or my dad or anyone moving around opening doors, you could hear literally everything. But now the quality of the sound should be exponentially better because I'm actually going to be breaking down the whole setup that I have for this podcast as well, because I feel like in the first episode we should cover some bases. 1, the reason for the podcast. 2, the reason for the name of the podcast, what's going to be coming on these episodes, what is there to look forward to, is it just going to be me, are we going to have guest appearances? All of those things we're going to be covering in the first episode. I wanted to make a platform where I could dive into really anything, whether it be my late night thoughts, things that I feel like philosophical about, opinions I have on certain things, because the reason it's called the Hardcast is because I want it to be a place where either myself or a guest on the podcast can talk about something that's, one, maybe hard to talk about because it's something that is deep within and it's hard to express, something that would be amazing to share on the podcast because the people listening could benefit from their story, or it's something that's hard to talk about in the sense that people are scared of being judged by saying certain things. In today's society, so many people are just scared to speak their mind because they're scared of being judged. They're scared of being taken the wrong way. Too many people have too many opinions, and I want this to be a place where there is no judgment. And if there is judgment, then who gives a fuck? Because this is the Hardcast, and we're going to be talking about the hard topics. We're going to be talking about the things that people are scared to talk about. This is where it's all going to go down, where I'm going to be able to speak my true mind and my actual opinion. Because sometimes if I was to give my opinion on various topics that are happening in the world on my YouTube channel, it wouldn't really fit the daily vlog, what's going on in my life, what's happening in my fitness journey, what's going on with my friends or my family, because sometimes opinions can be very, very strong and can annoy a lot of people. So this is going to be a podcast that is going to be quite controversial. There's going to be guests on this podcast that have different views on different things, whether it be a religious standpoint or a place that they come from, and it's the way they've been brought up, and they are, obviously that's the way they are. And I want to share those things. I want to share those mindsets and those ways of thinking for people to be able to listen to this podcast and expand their mind to become more of a well-rounded human being by listening to the opinions of other people and taking them on board, not judging them, but allowing them to, soak in and maybe change your perception on a various topic or a thing that you're thinking about in your life, and maybe have it be a benefit rather than something that you can, throw your hands up to and be like, this is wrong, this is wrong. Maybe absorb what they're saying as a potential truth and let it shape you to be a more well-rounded human being, which is why I want to do this podcast, because I absolutely love having conversations with people. One of my favorite things to do is I love people gazing. There's been times where I've been in Birmingham, Grand Central Station, which is a train station local to me, and I would sit there with my sushi and I would just literally just stand there and just watch people, because people are so interesting. There are people walking by that are thinking the same amount of thoughts that you can think in a single second. If you can comprehend all the thoughts that you just thought in the past 10 minutes of your life, all the things that went through your head, and to think that the person stood next to you, all the millions of people right in front of your eyes are also having that amount of engagement in their mind, that those neurons are all firing in everyone's head, and it's so interesting to think about, and it's interesting to look at their expressions. What's also really interesting is having conversations with people for the purpose of learning their story, as I said before, to become more of a well-rounded human being. Because one thing I find interesting, and one thing I think is really beneficial about conversation, is the fact that when you speak to someone, if you really listen, and I don't mean just like, hi, how are you, but you brush it off because you've heard it all before, right? I mean, truly listen to what someone's saying, engage into them, ask questions, really be interested in their life, and actually take an interest in something that isn't about your miserable life, because someone else could have something going on too that could be worth listening to. And that's why I love to have a conversation, because Sometimes people have different perspectives on various things in life. People have different opinions, and those opinions have been based on a whole lifetime of living, all the people they've met, their family, their upbringing, their relationships, their experiences in the world have, driven them to be the person they are today. So if you can have a long conversation with that individual, you can grasp what makes them who they are. After multiple conversations, you can get a greater understanding of the people around you, your society, who you want to be as a person, and you can really base your opinion off experience in the world, not just what you've experienced, not just what you think in your small world of experience, because out there are literally 8 billion people in the world experiencing something just as amazing as you, or not as amazing as you. Maybe they have an absolutely shit life, and maybe that's something that you need to have a sense of realization about as well, because just because your life is all fine and dandy doesn't mean someone else's is. And it helps with being grateful with the way your life currently is, because if you hear about someone, they're going through something, it makes you feel grateful and think about the things that you have in your life, which I think is really important in terms of reflecting. So many conversations over the last couple of years that I've had, I have wished they could have been recorded. I've wished they could have just been heard by someone, because somebody out there in the world could have benefited from that conversation. Not because we're here to teach people. I'm not a philosopher. I'm not saying I'm an experienced person and I know all. It's literally just like I said, a different perspective on something that could be either motivating, a story that I could share, something that I dealt with in a certain way, or something that a guest on the Hardcast could have experienced, and they could be sharing it as well, which I think is really amazing. I wanted to create this opportunity for myself to be able to share these incredible stories with some pretty incredible people that I've met along the way and would actually love to get on this podcast. Is that going to be a problem? There's literally someone above me. I hope this mic is good enough, because there's literally someone mowing their fucking lawn above me. And how typical. I'm recording this first episode at 6:30. And it's literally getting dark. Who mows their lawn at 6:30 at night when it's literally getting dark, when you can barely see the blades of grass? Why would you get, oh, you know what? Jonathan, do you know where the lawnmower is? Because I want to go and just cut the grass real quick. Bearing in mind, it's literally -5. We're currently in Canada, and this first podcast is being recorded in my girlfriend's mom's basement. Just to set the tone, we are currently in a basement. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see that it's a very nice, white, clean space. I'm in the corner of a room, 2 lights beaming on me, sipping on a Monster, looking crazed, rocking back and forth. There's going to be some issues, and people are going to think I've got some serious problems. Maybe they will, but some of the things we're going to speak about on this podcast, because I do want to dive into some pretty fucked up topics. We have to find our audience, because obviously this is the first episode. There is going to be no fans of the podcast right now. I'm surprised if there's any listeners. If you are one of the first people listening to the very first episode of the Hardcast, my love goes out to you. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether you've come from my Instagram or my YouTube channel. I really appreciate you taking the time to support this podcast, because it is something I've wanted to do for a very long time, and I'm very, very, very excited to dive into this. So now we've covered the overall reason for the podcast, the reason it's called the Hardcast, and some of the topics we are going to be speaking about on the Hardcast. Please sit back, relax, grab a caffeinated beverage or whatever it is you want to grab, and enjoy. Now, to get things started, if you have no idea who I am, if you've never heard my name before, and you have never ever watched anything that I posted online, saw any pictures I posted on Instagram, or followed my journey on YouTube, potentially you may be listening to this with your girlfriend, your nan, your granddad, or your dog, whoever is listening to this podcast, and you're not familiar with who I am. I'm going to take a moment right now to tell a little bit about my story. Obviously, with this being the first podcast, I feel like it's only fitting for me to introduce myself a little bit, maybe talk about some things that you don't know about me. Maybe you've only been following me on social media for the past week. My name is Brandon Harding. I am 24 years old. I was born on the 5th of January 1997, and I grew up in a small town called Bromsgrove, which is based out of the United Kingdom, literally in the centre of the Midlands, about an hour away from Birmingham and about 2 hours away from London, just in case you have no idea about any geography in the UK. I'm literally in London, okay? 2 hours away is basically living in London, because I feel like when you meet people abroad or something, and people are like, oh my god, you're from the UK, where are you from? And you just know they're going to have no fucking clue where you're from in the UK. You're not going to say Coventry or Cornwall, because they're going to have not a Scooby-Doo where that is. So you basically just say London just to keep things simple because it's right in the middle, which is basically where I am. But that is the location that I grew up in. Growing up and everything, it's not really been something I've ever spoke about on social media. So like, I feel like this is a good place to talk about it, especially like with this being the Hardcast and speaking about things that are hard to talk about. So I guess this is an opportunity for me to now open up a little bit myself and talk about where I guess grew up and where I came from. So I grew up in a council estate called Charford, and growing up, my family didn't really have much money. My mom was very proud, and well, first off, my dad left when I was 1, and not to say he was a bad dad or anything. I just him and my mom just had a terrible relationship, and he left when I was 1, and he saw me every single weekend. And I feel like a lot of the reason I didn't see my dad so much is because my mom was very proud, and she was like, you know what, like, fuck you guys, like, I can look after my own son. I don't need that help from like the rest of the family, right? So mom was very proud, and it led us to be in certain circumstances that wasn't very good for my upbringing, because it left us like, without a lot of money and stuff, whether we had no money because my mom was out drinking or spending it on various other things, or was it because she had a low paying job. I mean, I've been told so many different stories growing up from so many different family members. It's hard to know what the truth is, but I do know that growing up, we didn't really have much money. And some of the reason why as a kid I developed like such a problem with anger, because I feel like in my family, like, anger and anxiety and all these sort of things, I do want to touch on this in a different episode, but like, my childhood was spent being angry at a lot of things. 1, based on the fact that I was bullied every single day of my life, but 2, based on the fact that I felt like I had so much to be angry about, based on either the way I was brought up or the way I was treated, or the arguments at home. From a young age, didn't really have much. After a little while, I'm now at the age of like 4, 5, 6. My mom meets my stepdad, who is an incredible man. For a man to take on another woman's child and to be there for him and to treat him as their own is something that I will never understand, because that is something that is so honorable. And for me to be able to like be in love with a woman and to love that child like the same as if it was my own, I've always had the notion that I want to have my own child. So to imagine something other than that, it would be so hard to love a child as if it was my own. Not that I'm saying it would be impossible, because obviously I could do it, especially if I loved the woman enough that I was with. But imagining what my stepdad went through, and to treat me as his own son, is something I'll never be able to thank him enough for, because he really did treat me as a son. And when him and my mom developed a relationship, they got married, things started to become, really easy. We had a nice house from the age of like, starting out in first school all the way through middle school, all the way through like to the beginning of high school, to be honest, until I hit puberty. I was like bullied every single day of my life because I had really messed up teeth, and I wasn't very attractive. I didn't smell very good. Like, it was a whole thing, and nobody wanted to be my friend because of the way I looked. And things changed when I hit puberty and started doing fitness activities, because I started boxing when I was 12 years old all the way through till 16, which was when I joined high school. I started to get like a bit of a physique. I got braces when I was 12 years old, so my teeth started to straighten, which gave me this weird view on society from such a young age that just because I look more like you now, you want to be my friend. But because my teeth were messed up before, and because I wasn't very attractive, you want to be my friend now based on the fact that I look more like you, and you can't bully me for my indifferences. Which, kids are horrible. Like, in high school, like, some kids are like so fucking mean, and like, it was kind of difficult, like, obviously with dealing with things at home, various arguments and stuff. I was going through ADHD, anger issues, birthed from things in the past that I thought that I had to be angry about. So you can imagine my childhood was filled with bullying, anger, fights, all those kind of things. And I guess it hardened me a lot because I had to deal with a lot. It's kind of funny when I get like hate comments on YouTube, if I ever do. Someone will say something mean and I'm like, dude, like, you're literally wasting your fucking time, because I'm literally here reading this comment and laughing as if like, is this the best you have? I have gone through so fucking much from a young age. Like, this is literally a fly on the windshield of my life. You might as well just not watch my videos or unsubscribe, or just not waste your time telling me about how much you don't like me, because I dealt with that shit my whole childhood. Like, no fucking shit. If you don't like me, then go fuck off, because like, I'm not here to please anyone or be anyone for anyone. Like, I'm here doing my own thing. I know who I am. I'm proud of who I am. I know what I'm here to do. I'm a very good friend to my friends. I try to be the best family member possible, and that's all that matters. I'm on my own journey. I'm trying to do my best physically, mentally to be the best person I can be and be the best influence for the people in my life. And if you have a negative opinion about me, keep it to yourself, because I don't give a fuck about what you have to say about me. If it's anything to do with negativity, I feel like that's one of the things I did experience in high school, was when I was bullied, was, sometimes, there are just bad people. There are just mean kids, and they will say whatever they want to say just to get a reaction. And I did react. There was times where I would flip tables, I would throw chairs at teachers. So much has changed ever since then. Like, it's been a long ass time. It's literally been 13 years since that incident. So obviously, people grow up and stuff, and people change. And I definitely think that when I went to high school and I hit puberty and people started to accept me for who I was, and I started to gain more friends, I definitely found myself. I definitely became more confident, and I went into high school thinking I would never ever lose my virginity. I thought when I was 12, about to go into high school, I'm going to go through the entire high school experience and never lose my virginity. Hit puberty, got straight teeth, started boxing straight away, 13 years old, had sex for the first time, and I could not fucking stop. I was a very, very, very horny young kid. I had to grow up fast to, take on board the things that I had to emotionally deal with. So I feel like the capacity in which an individual needs to be able to have sex for the first time at a young age, you need to be quite mature. And I felt like I experienced that very, very soon. So I had the ability. I actually remember one thing that my mom said to me when I told her that I had sex for the first time, because she found a pregnancy test underneath my pillow when I was 13. Imagine a mother's reaction finding a pregnancy test under her son's pillow when he's 13. I got home from school where she was stood there at the front door with the pregnancy test. She was like, "Brandon, what the fuck is this?" And I was like, "Mom, I got some explaining to do." We were basically just scared because, we both lost our virginity. We didn't know how children were really made, or if it was so easy to get pregnant. So we got it. We hid it under my pillow. Probably the worst place to hide it, because obviously your mom's going to check there. Obviously, why would she check anywhere else but the pillow? Because a dumb 13-year-old is going to hide a pregnancy test in a pillow, of course. Anyway, in response to my mom finding the test, and I was just trying to explain to her why it was okay for me to have sex at the age of 13. And I said, "Mother, if there isn't an age on love, then why should there be to show it?" She looked at me straight in the eye, turned around, and shut the fucking door. Like, she was just like, "Brandon, you know absolutely nothing. Shut up. Like, you're way too young for this stuff." I didn't feel like I was, because I did, obviously care about the person I was with at that time when I was 13. Obviously, yes, it wasn't true love. It was just, childish stuff. And, whether people can experience true love at that age, I don't know, because now, having experienced true love myself, with the person I'm with right now, with someone that I'm so unconditionally in love with, just absolutely obsessed with the idea of like spending my life with my girlfriend, who is called Geordie. Now I look back on those times and I'm like, that wasn't real love. It was just like, growing up as a kid, like experiencing new things, and like, doing what you need to do to be the person you're going to be later on in life, which is experience things when you are a kid. So I'm not going to go into details, but I cleaned up in high school because I had just spent my whole childhood life being bullied, and now I was in with the cool kids. I was on the cool table, and I was using that to my advantage. And everything that you typically would do in college or university, I did that from the age of 13 to 16. So I have no intentional reason or any, urges right now at the age of 24 to go out and just stick my dick in as many vaginas as possible, because I did it when I was like literally 14 years old, which is really weird to say. From the ages of 13 to 16, I completed high school, had an absolutely incredible time doing whatever I was doing, making the friends. I actually had friends for the first time. So my high school experience was actually absolutely incredible. I loved every second of it. And sometimes I reminisce and I think back to those times and I think, wow, like, I'm so glad that high school was as good as it was, because if it wasn't, I would look back on my entire schooling career and think, wow, that fucking sucked. Like, that whole thing was shit. And, for some people it is and some people it's not. But that was my whole experience going to school. Now, I also knew that because of my understanding on society and the way people judged, even when I was friends with people I was friends with in high school, I also took it with a grain of salt. I also still watched and understood how people, did things and why they did things and why they said the things they said to yield a certain reaction. And it always made me feel like a bit of an outcast. Like, I was always watching and being watched. And it was kind of strange because it led to me feeling like not really accepted in society. Also, based on, problems from the past and stuff and being scarred from previous experiences, I was never able to just truly let go of those things. So it also made me feel a bit like an outcast. So at the age of 16, I leave high school and I don't want to party. I don't want to go, enjoy summer. I did okay in school. Like my GCSEs were okay. I got like 3 A stars in science. I got a B in math, but I got a D in English. How do you get 3 A stars in science and get a D in English? It just didn't make any sense. I said, Mom, I want to travel the world. What can I do? And she said, Brandon, every country needs a trade. So go and do something where the world is going to want to need you to work in their country. I did plumbing for 6 months and I fucking hated it. I hated every second of it. There was nothing but like vulgarness, smelly men, early mornings, literally waking up at 3:30 in the morning, because obviously at this age I was 16, started the gym for the first time, was trying to prep my meals, knew nothing about fitness, was literally prepping like spinach and chicken and thought that was what I needed to grow. Just pure protein and macronutrients, like no carbs, no nothing. I thought that carbs were bad in the beginning, because obviously you know nothing about fitness when you're 16, when you're just starting out, and I knew absolutely nothing. So I was prepping just like, pointless meals that were just getting me by. I'm surprised I had any energy, to be honest. It was probably all the shit I ate on the night time. I survived on Chicago town pizzas, pot noodles, Scotch eggs, a bunch of British delicacies. You may not know what a Scotch egg is, but I'm telling you, it's fucking fantastic, especially if you dip it into mayonnaise or some sort of just sauce. It's incredible. But it's very, very bad for you. It's processed meat and it's got an egg in the middle and it's really not good. But I absolutely loved them as a kid. I did that for 6 months and I didn't really like it, but it was the only thing I really had going for me. So I went to college for 3 months after summer, and I honestly looked around me, and the type of people that like were in my, I don't know if it was like luck of the draw, but I was honestly with like fucking retards. Like there were people around me that I was like sat in this room with, and I was like, the only reason you're here is because you can't do anything else, because you got like E's and F's in like everything you did. You have no common sense, no sense of reality. You're just a drone in society that's literally going to be doing probably nothing, probably like, unemployable because whatever the reason. Anyway, not to try and insult anyone or their extremely low IQs. At the age of 17 now, I went to go work at my stepdad's fiberglass engineering company. I worked there for 2 years, and being the boss's son, it was good and all. I got an okay pay, but when you're the boss's son in any company, people treat you so weirdly because they think that anything you're going to say is going to go back to the boss, or they treat you like shit because they feel like a sense of, they hate the fact that you're the boss's son and they see you as a higher power. They've been in the company for about 30 years of their whole existence, and you've come around and you're receiving a decent pay to what they've been working for 30 years. So they hate you for it. So a year and a half of that was an enlightening experience, because one, it showed me what I don't want to be doing for the rest of my life, because I hated it. I ripped off that blue jumper every single day after work, and I was like smelling the fiberglass, and I said to myself every day, I fucking hate my life. Why am I 18 years old working in my stepdad's company, like his baby? Like I want to build something myself. I want to know what it feels like to wake up and be my stepdad every single morning and be proud of what you've built. I don't want to work for the man or just be a drone in someone else's world. I want to build something myself. And after ripping off my jumper numerous times, I decided to leave that job. Well, I say leave, I actually got fired for being on my phone too much, because I was trying to post on Instagram to grow my Instagram, and Clive, the 50% owner of the company with my stepdad, decided to fire me because I was on my phone too much, which is fair enough. Like, you pay someone to do the job, and I wasn't doing it because I hated the job. And I was also really bad at following orders, and I've realized that through jobs that I've had, because I've probably had about 6 or 7 jobs in the past, and I've pretty much been fired from every one of them for the same purpose. I am really, really bad at being told what to do, because I always feel like there's a different way to do something, or a more productive way. Because when you just can't, you're the type of person that just like can analyze someone's life and say, this could be better, you could do this more, you could do this a different way. And I am very much that type of person, and it's a blessing and a curse, because it makes me a perfectionist in my own life, but it also makes me a really, really, really bad employee when you think your boss is an idiot and like he could do things a little bit better. But I'm just trying to give constructive criticism. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm literally just saying like, hey, there's a better way to do this if you just did this differently. And no boss wants to hear that. So I, was very bad at being an employee and being a cog in the system of the world. So I got fired from pretty much every job I had. Even the bar job I had from 18 to 19 while I was trying to make YouTube work, because when I was 18, left the fiberglass job that my stepdad owned, and I started to work at the local gym that I used to train at, because at this point I was 18 and I'd made a 2-year transformation. I started the gym when I was 16 years old, and I really had found my pace with the gym. Absolutely loved every second of it. And it was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, honestly. If I could find a career in something to do with the gym, that was what I could imagine myself doing forever, because I fucking loved the gym. It was my social life. It was my release. It was my joy. It was everything to me. You know, all my friends were down there. Over the years, I just developed such a good relationship and friendship with everyone at the gym. I loved every second of it. So I wanted to get a job there, and Frankie and the current owners at the time basically took me on, and I worked there for about 6 months until I inevitably got fired, because something happened where Frank, the guy that owned the gym, I'm not afraid to name drop, by the way. Like, if Frank's watching this or listening to this, Frank, you're an absolute dick, because basically Frank was a man who had achieved very, very little in the bodybuilding world. Prided himself on his progress of his physique, and honestly, he didn't even look that good. He probably took a bunch of steroids and still looked like shit, and it was what it was. But the thing is, he developed this terrible attitude towards me, because I was 18 and I started to grow on social media. I think I had like 5 or 10,000 followers at this point, and he was so envious and just pissed off. He was like, who is this 18-year-old kid that thinks he's the dog's bollocks, thinks he's all this, taking shirtless selfies in the gym? Like, fuck this kid. I'm 33 and I almost got the front cover of some health magazine. And I'm like, dude, like, no one gives a shit about this health magazine that you did a photo shoot for and you didn't even get published for on the front cover. So it literally, you've achieved nothing in this fitness thing. And he was just hateful of what I achieved. So he found a way to fire me because I didn't clean the toilet one time at work, and he was really anal about the toilets being cleaned for some weird reason. I think he was just trying to get at me, or like, make me do jobs that he knew I wouldn't want to do, to potentially refuse, which I never would, because I don't mind cleaning a toilet seat. I've done worse jobs out there than cleaning a toilet seat. So it didn't work. And one time there was, he basically found a way to be like, this kid is a cocky prick and we need to get rid of him. So they did. And then I actually moved on to do the best job I've ever had, which was working at Bushwhackers in Worcester. I worked there for a total of 8 months, and it was fucking incredible because I was going to the gym. I was able to do YouTube. My day-to-day basically looked like I'd wake up in the morning after a long shift at work. I'd make food. I'd have all the time in the day to do that. I could have all the daylight to film YouTube videos. I'd then edit, then get ready to go to work, listen to music, drink behind the bar from 10:30 p.m. at night until 4:30 a.m. in the morning, and just repeat 3 nights or 4 nights a week, depending on what the router was. And I loved it because the music they played was great. The friendships that I made there were fantastic. I didn't mind drinking at that time. I mean, it was great to have shots with your friends and just meet people. There was honestly moments in the club where my ego just went through the fucking roof because I was doing Instagram, things were blowing up and stuff. YouTube was going well. I think I got my first 2 viral videos. One hit like 13 million views. Another one hit like 3 million views. It was a full day of eating. And I was literally at the bar, and there was girls being like, I'm not leaving this bar until you kiss me. And I was like, where did these people come from? Like, who is your mother, and does she know that you're asking to kiss this boy at the bar? Anyway, it was fantastic until inevitably, again, I got fired because I wasn't doing the job I was meant to be doing. The boss put me on coat check. I was one of the fastest servers at the bar. I've never done coat check before, and then boss man comes in and says, Brandon, you're not fast enough at clocking in these coats, you're fired. Because he can just get another student that needs a job. So obviously it wasn't something that was hard for him to do, to just sack me off, just throw me like a turd in the wind to the streets. And that's pretty much what he did. And I went to my mom that night and I said, Mom, I've been doing YouTube now for about a year and I absolutely love every second of what I'm doing. I was trying to make it work while I was working at my bar job, but honestly, the sleepless nights and the not having any time to do anything other than make videos, go to work, and I didn't even have enough time to masturbate. Like, honestly, I had no time to prep meals. I had no time to do anything. So this was something that I thought was an opportunity for me to, drop aside any job that I had and the idea of getting another one, because I was making like pennies from YouTube, but it was just enough to get by and afford food. And I said to Mom, give me 6 months. And this was enough to get her off my back, because honestly, it was torturous. Every single day, like, get a job. Like, what makes you think people want to see your life? Because Mom never really understood why I wanted to do YouTube and what it really meant to me. just by sharing your life, like that it could potentially motivate someone else to do something positive with their life as well. And my mom never really understood that, so she never really understood the whole YouTube thing, which is totally understandable because it was a generation after her that you never really utilized social media or YouTube at that to make a living, and it wasn't something that she was very familiar with. So of course this is something that was hard for her to digest, which I understood. But I said, Mom, give me 6 months and I promise I'll find a way to make this work. And within 6 months, I think we went from 5,000 YouTube followers all the way up to, I think it was like 40,000 subscribers in literally 6 months. And it was incredible, like to see the growth and to see people really like enjoying the videos I was posting because I had all the time in the world to post them. This was actually the birth of my shredding series, Hard Body Shredding, which is where I document my dieting phases, which I'm currently doing right now. I'm currently on episode 21 of the 2021 Road to Pro shredding series, but this was the beginning of it. This was the very, very origin of Hard Body Shredding, and it went really, really well. And my mom got off my back, and from that point, at the age of 19, I didn't have to get a normal job again, because I had been trying to grow this channel already for a year and a half, and I took a leap and I allowed myself to be in such a vulnerable position. I'll talk about this in a future podcast, but financially it wasn't a good position to be in, because I was like trying to get by every day, and like it didn't just happen, right? Those 6 months, it wasn't just like after month 2, boom, you've got loads of money in the bank. It wasn't just a sponsorship that came around and just made my life easy. I had to fucking fight for that shit, and it took a very, very long time. The thing that didn't bother me was the fact that I was enjoying every fucking second of the way, because I was making videos because I genuinely loved to do it. When I was in high school, I used to use my BlackBerry phone and record all of my like banter and stuff with my classmates in school, whether it be gaming on the Xbox with Minecraft, just recording all the builds, whether it be doing promiscuous activity with my girlfriends that I had in high school, whether I wanted to record that. I was obsessed with recording things, basically. I'm not going to go into that, but I just wanted to document my life to remember things. I've always been scared of this weird notion that one day I would like develop something like dementia and I would just forget everything about my life, and I wanted to document all this stuff to remember every part of my life. And that's why I started recording things at the age of 13. I've never actually spoke about that. It's something I've never mentioned. The reason I like to record things is because I'm scared of forgetting my life, and I want to remember every part of it, which is one of the reasons I do YouTube right now. Like, even if people didn't watch my YouTube videos, even if they got no views whatsoever, I wouldn't give a shit, because I never made them for the views in the first place. I made them because I loved creating, and it's what I love to do, and it's what I would continue to do. If the channel died or YouTube ceased to exist or something, I would still vlog. I would still record my day, because it's exactly what I love to do. And I feel like I've been put on this earth to do this thing because it just feels too good. If everyone has a purpose on this earth, and some people struggle to find it, but I genuinely feel like I found my purpose on this earth, and I hope that it is to inspire and to motivate other people to live a fulfilling life, and to know that even coming from a place of diversity and arguments, and maybe someone that you wouldn't ever want to revisit because you had anger issues and all these things, all these notions of hatefulness, and someone that you would never ever want to be, if you can come from that and transition into an individual that just wants to live a fulfilling life and inspire people to do the same, then anyone can make a change. Anyone can do anything with their life. And that's what I want to inspire people to do. And that's what I feel like I've truly been, put on this earth to do, to just leave a positive mark on the world, and to just, impact someone's life in a way that's going to make their life better. And if anything I post, anything I create, anything I do in my life can result in that being a reality, then I feel like I've done everything I need to do in life, and my purpose on this earth has been fulfilled. For anyone that's listening to this podcast right now that has been following me for a while, thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this for the past I guess making a living for the past 2.5 years, but being able to enjoy the process for the past 5.5 years of being on YouTube and being here for the ride. It just makes me so excited for everything that's going to come in the future as well, with the development of my Hard Body company, which is my app, my equipment, and soon to be clothing. So many different things. I'm not going to talk about it too much right now, because this isn't what I want the first podcast to be about. The child that wanted to go from job to job to job just to get by, to following a dream, to being 19 years old and then transitioning into owning his own company one day. It just proves that even the lowest, even the worst of us, even the people that feel like they can't be saved, even the people that feel like they don't have much going for them right now, everyone has a purpose, everyone has a reason for being. And Everyone has a positive mark that they can leave on the world. So I want to do something that's going to enable me to travel around the world. And that is exactly what I wanted to do when I made my YouTube channel. Because when you have a YouTube, when you work online, you can work wherever you want to in the world, because it doesn't matter, because you work from your laptop, you document your life, you have a business online. And that's what I wanted to do. And I've been lucky enough to do that, and I'm very, very grateful for it. And I do plan on continuing this very, very far into the future, especially with the beginning of the first episode of the Hardcast. If the result of this podcast can be to be a distraction in your day, can help you through something that you're potentially going through, or just help you go through something that you are going through, and to be able to relate to someone that's been through something maybe similar or completely different, but can still shed some light on the fact that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and you don't have to be in the circumstance that you are in forever, because there is always another way to make a change in your life. So yeah, I feel like that's enough about me and everything I've done for the past 24 years of my life. I'm going to cover loads more things in the future on future podcast episodes and stuff, especially through like conversation, diving into other people's stories about their life and stuff, guests that we're going to have on the podcast. I'm obviously going to be able to revisit things that I've experienced in my life and be able to share with you. But this was honestly really, really interesting. Obviously the first topic of this podcast was to just talk about, one, the reason for the podcast, the reason for the name, a bit about myself, just in case you have no idea who I am. To end things right now, I'm going to honor what I said at the beginning of this podcast, which is to answer some questions that were submitted to me about a week ago, which is something that I want to do at the end of the episodes, just to add a different twist and maybe a completely different topic to what the podcast has been based on. First question, the importance of pursuing a passion regardless of what other people think. Honestly, one thing I've realized over the years is that just no matter what people think, or no matter how people judge you, I have lost so many friends along the way. People that I thought would be in my life forever when I was 16 years old have honestly just fucked off now, because one, they didn't understand what I was trying to do. And there's actually a quote in a song that I've been listening to recently. I don't understand why everyone left, but then I realized it was because I let everyone go. And it's actually, what that means is, you don't realize why people judge you. You don't realize why people, don't understand what it is that you're trying to do. It's the fact that you're doing something completely different to what they can't even comprehend what you're trying to do, because it's so different to what they're trying to do. They don't understand your dreams or your goals. So you leave them behind, because they're the ones that are still bitching and talking shit, and you decided to leave them behind you. That's why they're called backstabbers, right? Because when they talk shit about you behind your back, they're stabbing you from the back. And that's another reason they're called backstabbers. It's because you can't be fucking bothered to turn around and see who it is that's stabbing you in the back, because who gives a shit? You are on your own journey. You've got your own purpose in life. I feel like the importance of this, resulting back to the question, the importance of pursuing a passion regardless of what other people think, is people are going to think things no matter what. So you might as well just do the thing you want to do, because people are going to judge you if you don't have a job. People are going to judge you if you want to be a millionaire. People are going to judge you if you're beautiful or if you're ugly, because they hate you because you look better than them, or they have something to judge because it makes them feel better about themselves because you're ugly. Both end of the spectrums, people are going to talk shit no matter what you do in life. So you might as well just do it, because people are going to talk shit anyway. So you might as well just do the thing you want to do, and then sack off the opinions of everyone else, because it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. They're going to waste their time bitching about you doing the things that they want to do, and you're going to be too busy succeeding and doing the things that you need to do to be in the place that you want to be in life, while they're still going to be wasting time judging the next person that's in their life and keeping them down, when they're still going to be in the same place and you're going to be long fucking gone. Next question, the industry and how fake it is nowadays. Honestly, there are fakes, there are people, there are bullshitters in every single industry, and I feel like the fitness industry has is no excuse to that, because there are people out there that skew information based on the fact that they think it will make them go viral, and an unpopular opinion can be spoken about on social media and the video can go viral based on the controversy. Means that there are just a lot of people that are full of shit on social media, and they're only on the platform to try and grow, to try and make money off people, not because they actually just love creating content, right? So I feel like what does create some of the the BS in the industry and just some of the fakeness is that people aren't honest about why they're even here. People aren't trying to positively impact anyone's life. They're literally just here for monetary gain, and they don't care about the information they're giving out. They don't care about whose lives they affect. And some people, as in real life, some people are just here to talk a bunch of shit, as on social media as well. Some people are just here to just chat shit and to just waste time and to just not actually give any value to someone's life, right? So I feel like there's no point in concentrating on how fake the industry is, because there's fakeness in every industry in the world. So you should only concentrate on the positiveness and, the things that are beneficial about the industry, things you can, really grow from and learn from and all those kind of things. So don't think too much about the negatives, because it's inevitable wherever you go. I really, really hope that you did enjoy the first episode of the Hardcast. Let me know in the comments if you're on YouTube, or just DM me on Instagram. I can't promise I'm going to see it, because it's quite hard to see every single DM that is sent, but I'll do my best to get back to as many people as possible for any feedback that is given on this podcast, because I'd really, really, really like to hear your opinions on what you thought about, one, the quality, two, what we're actually going to be speaking about, and if you're excited for future episodes. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to take one more sip of this monster before I do head on with the rest of my day. I hope that you are also having an incredible day or night or morning, wherever you are in the world, whatever you are currently doing. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you in the next episode of the Hardcast. Oh my God, it's done. We had the first episode. This is going to be really cool. I'm so glad I'm doing this. I'm speaking to two different cameras right now. I've got a microphone that mimics a massive dildo in my face. Obviously, people there that just listen to this can't actually see what I'm doing right now, but it's very, very conspicuous and quite sus, if you ask me.